They called it Camelot, a time of heroes, of magic, of a future that felt untouchable. But every myth has a shadow, and every king has a price on his head. November 22nd, 12:30 p.m. The world was watching the man, but fate was watching the clock. 6 floors up, a silent observer waited, not for a man, but for an icon. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the boy who was never supposed to live, was now the most powerful man on Earth. But to understand the legend, we must first look at the boy, the ghost, that lived inside the suit. A life built on a lie, a body built on pain, and a family built on an obsession with power. Joe Kennedy didn't want sons, he wanted kings, and he was willing to sacrifice everything to get them. In the Kennedy house, coming in second was a death sentence. Jack was the second son, the spare, always in the shadow of Joe Jr. He learned to play the game early, to hide his scars, to swallow his tears, to become whatever his father needed him to be. By 20, his body was a battlefield, a spine that wouldn't hold, a blood system that was failing. He was living on borrowed time. While Joe Jr. was the athlete, Jack became the intellectual. He didn't just read history, he was looking for a way to survive it. His thesis was a warning to the world, a young man obsessed with why nations sleep while the storm gathers. He was predicting the future, while his own was uncertain. Then came the war, the great equalizer. For a Kennedy, it wasn't an option to stay behind. It was a requirement for the crown. The Solomon Islands, August 1943. Lieutenant John F. Kennedy was finally out of his father's house and into the mouth of hell. In a heartbeat, the Golden Boy was gone, split in two by a Japanese destroyer. This was the moment the prince had to become a man. He swam for miles, towing a dying man by a strap held between his teeth. His broken back was screaming, but his father's voice was louder. Don't you dare fail. A coconut shell, a message in the sand, a miracle. Jack Kennedy returned a hero, but he left a piece of his soul in those dark waters. But then came the real tragedy. Joe Jr., the star, the chosen one, blown to pieces over the English Channel. The spare was now the heir. The father looked at his sickly son and gave him a new order. You will be the first Catholic president of the United States. 1946, the mission changed. No longer a sailor, now a salesman, selling one product to the streets of Boston. The Kennedy name. His father's checkbook was the engine. Joe Sr. was buying seats of power. Jack was the face on the coin. He was winning elections, but losing his body. Every speech was a performance. Every smile a small victory over constant pain. Then came Jackie, the final piece. The perfect queen for a king being forged in silence. The marriage of the century, a fairy tale for the cameras. But behind the pearls and tailored suits, the weight of expectation was becoming unbearable. The world's first televised war for power. Jack understood something his rivals did not. Politics had changed, and so had power. January 20th, the torch was passed. The Golden Boy reached the summit. Camelot had begun. But the world outside was frozen. The Cold War was no longer a theory. It was a ticking bomb, and the new president was holding it. The Bay of Pigs, a disaster, his first true failure. For the first time, the Golden Prince understood. His father's money could not buy safety. Then came the Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days on the edge of extinction. Jack Kennedy was no longer just a man. He was the thin line standing between the world and the fight. The failure in Cuba was only the beginning. In the dark halls of Langley, the architects of war were losing faith in their young king. In public, he faced Khrushchev. In private, he faced himself. The pain was no longer hidden. It was a prison he couldn't escape. Power is lonely, but for a Kennedy, it was lethal. He was a man who knew too much and trusted too few. The ghosts of his father's past were closing in. Deals made in back rooms, secrets buried deep, enough to burn a presidency to the ground. Camelot was beginning to crack. The glamour was only gold leaf. Beneath it, cold, unforgiving using steel. His only true ally was his brother, Bobby. Two men against an empire trying to clean the mess. A mess that went too deep to fix. Every decision created an enemy. Every signature drew another line. He was dismantling the old guard, and the old guard was watching. He wanted to change the world, but the world had other plans. Plans already moving, already set. 1963, the clock was no longer ticking. It was counting down. The Golden Prince was running out of time. He didn't know it yet, but history was already waiting, and Dallas was calling. By the summer of 1963, the light of Camelot wavered. The man who had it all began to feel the chill. Pain shadowed him everywhere. By day, he led a superpower. By night, he fought just to breathe. He told his friends, "If someone wants to kill me, no one can stop them. Not afraid, just resign." The trip to Texas promised victory, a chance to mend a fractured party. Instead, it became a march straight into danger. Jackie hesitated. He insisted she would stand beside him. The world would see the perfect couple one final time. While he prepared speeches, another man prepared his aim. Two lives miles apart converging on the same moment. November 21st, Texas simmered with heat and expectation. Thousands waited, some with flowers, others with hate. That night he was America's king. In the shadows he complained of a headache, the crown growing heavier. Morning of the 22nd, a bright day. Perfect for a parade, perfect for an execution. He adjusted his tie, smiled at Jackie, stepped into the light. Camelot was about to burn. 12:29 p.m. The motorcade turned a corner, a sea of faces, a wall of noise, the American dream on full display. But in the shadows of the book depository, the world looked different, dangerous, targeted. Jackie watched the crowd. Jack looked at the future. Neither saw the flash in the window. Time, the one thing a Kennedy could not buy, ran out at 12:30, right in the heart of Texas. The first shot questioned. The second answered. Camelot fell, 6 seconds. Chaos ruled. America lost its innocence. Jackie lost her world. He did not die in the car. He died in the hearts of everyone watching. The king was gone. Only a ghost remained. The race to Parkland was a formality. Destiny had already broken him. On a plane suspended in grief, a new era began. A blood-stained crown passed to a man who never wanted it. The myth was over. The tragedy became immortal. John F. Kennedy was now memory. The news didn't just travel, it shattered. Across every ocean and every language, the words were the same. The president is dead. For the first time in history, the world stood still. Silence wasn't absence. It was a collective scream of disbelief. Preparation for the final journey. A king, forged in the Navy, returned to the earth with honors he never sought. Camelot was being folded away, placed in a box of history. But the questions were only beginning to breathe. The salute that broke a nation's heart. A son saying goodbye to a father who had become a ghost before he could become a man. While the world wept, the hunt for truth began. One man, one rifle, or so they wanted us to believe. The official story was a straight line. But history is never that simple. Secrets don't die with men. They go underground. They buried the man. They couldn't bury the mystery. The flame would burn forever, but the light was gone. He lived in the sun, but moved in shadows. A prince of Camelot whose crown was glass. And now the glass had shattered. America would never be the same. The dream had ended. The nightmare was just beginning. The man was gone, but the ghosts he left behind began to speak. The White House didn't feel like a temple anymore. It felt like a crime scene. The medical records, the secret tapes. The world began to see the healthy king for what he was, a medical miracle held together by sheer willpower and a cocktail of chemicals. Every step he took on the world stage was a battle against his own spine. A man made of glass leading a nation made of steel. Jackie became the architect of the legend. She gave us Camelot, but in the quiet hours, she knew the truth was far darker than the myth. We turned him into a saint. We turned him into a martyr. And in doing so, we lost the man. John Kennedy buried under a mountain of gold. Look closer at the photos. The grip on the podium, the stiff back. Always in a cage built by his father, locked by his own body. He knew, even then, he didn't want power for glory. He wanted it because it was the only thing that could justify his pain. The brothers, two souls against a system that wanted them dead. Not just politicians, survivors of a family curse. The world's greatest actor. He gave everyone a piece of himself, until there was nothing left for the man in the mirror. The key to Camelot wasn't gold, it was blood. And the price of that key was everything. Secrets outlive the men who keep them. By 1963, the president wasn't just fighting communism, he was fighting his own shadows. The mafia felt betrayed. They delivered the votes in Chicago, and the Kennedy brothers delivered war on organized crime. Lines were crossed, promises broken. In the world of shadows, a broken promise is a death warrant. JFK threatened to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. He wanted to stop the wars, but the wars didn't want to stop. The balance of power shifted. The golden boy became a liability, and the machinery of Dallas was already in motion. Lee Harvey Oswald, a man of many masks, a defector, a loner, a pawn, history calls him the killer. The files call him an enigma. He didn't act alone, he couldn't have. Behind every bullet, a hand. Behind every hand, a motive. The countdown was psychological. He knew the threats were real. He joked about them. But a Kennedy never hides. A Kennedy leads. The weight of the crown crushed him. He was ready for Texas, but was he ready for forever? 12 p.m. Dallas was waiting. The world was about to change, and there was no turning back. The air in Dallas was alive, warm, welcoming. But beneath the surface, the clock screamed. He was a king in a glass carriage, no roof, no protection, just a man and his destiny. He waved because it was his duty. He smiled because it was his mask. He didn't know he was waving goodbye to everything. Eyes everywhere, in windows, on rooftops, in trees. The hunter had found his angle. 12:29 p.m. The motorcade turned onto Elm Street. The trap closed. In that final minute, did he feel it? The cold breath of history on his neck, or was he already a ghost? The world would change in 6 seconds. 6 seconds to shatter a dream. 6 seconds to ignite a nightmare. The first shot warned the world. The second ended Camelot. He didn't just fall, he vanished, leaving behind a legacy and a nation in shock. The man died in Dallas. The legend was forged in fire. John F. Kennedy became eternal. Parkland Hospital, 12:38 p.m. The air smelled of antiseptic and ozone. The most powerful man on earth was now just a patient in room 1. Jackie refused to leave. She sat outside the door, a silent statue in a pink suit, a shroud, watching the dream bleed out. The doctors knew. They had seen the wound. 1 p.m. The heartbeat of an era flatlined into history. One bullet didn't just kill a man. It shattered a vision. America was no longer a land of new frontiers. It became a land of questions. The plane that carried him to Texas as a king brought him back as a martyr. The ghost had returned. Lyndon Johnson waited in the shadows. He had the title, but Jack still held the hearts of the people. A crown when in blood is heavy. Across the globe, the world stopped. London, Moscow, even enemies paused to watch the light go out. The Oval Office was empty, the rocking chair still, but his voice echoed everywhere. "Ask not," he had said. Now everyone was asking, why? 1 bullet, 3 shots, 1,000 theories. This wasn't just murder, it was a masterpiece of mystery. The Walk of the Giants. For 3 days, America didn't sleep. It watched, it waited, for a goodbye that felt like the end of the world. Jackie designed the farewell. She wanted the fire to burn forever, a light to guide a ghost home. But while the king was buried, the truth was silenced. 2 days after Dallas, another shadow emerged. Jack Ruby. A man with a gun and a hidden motive. One shot, and the only man who could tell us why was gone. The trial was over before it began. No answers, only ghosts, a nation left in darkness. The Warren Commission, 800 pages of official truth. Yet 60 years later, the real story is still out there. Who was John F. Kennedy? The more we search, the more he disappears into history's mirrors. One bullet, it didn't just strike a man. It punctured the American psyche, and it still bleeds. Dallas is a tourist stop now, a tragedy turned souvenir. But the ghosts of 12:30 p.m. never left. He promised us the stars, but left us with a mystery. The golden prince of a kingdom that died with him. History is not what happened. It's what the survivors agree upon. But in the case of JFK, no one could agree on the silence. He wanted to break the invisible government. But the invisible government had deeper roots, longer memories. The most famous 26 seconds in human history. A home movie that became a death warrant for the American soul. One bullet, 7 wounds. A trick performed by a government that needed a simple answer for a complex execution. The truth isn't hidden in a vault. It's hidden in plain sight. Behind walls stamped top secret and convenient accidents. They called Oswald a loner. But in the world of intelligence, there is no lone wolf, only a sacrificial lamb. The people saw, the people heard it, but the people were told they didn't see what they thought they saw. Justice isn't a destination, it's a ghost. And in Dallas, justice died before it could speak its name. The world moved on. New wars, new leaders, but the wound in the heart of America never truly closed. We are still searching, still waiting for the missing piece, still waiting for the truth to set us free. The future didn't just feel different, it felt gone. For a generation of children, the man who promised the moon was now just a name being erased. His dream of the stars still lived, but it was a ghost mission, a tribute to a man who would never see the giant leap he started. Johnson inherited a crown of thorns. He had to finish Jack's work while haunted by Jack's ghost. Every law signed, a debt paid in blood. The Peace Corps, the nuclear test ban. He was trying to stop the fire. But with Jack gone, the Cold War felt hotter. He wasn't a hero of civil rights at first. He was a politician who learned to care. In death, he became the symbol he was too afraid to be in life. Bobby Kennedy, the keeper of the flame. He carried the weight of his brother's murder every day until his own turn came. The Kennedy curse, hungry. The 1960s were supposed to be the age of enlightenment. Instead, a decade of funerals. Dallas, the first domino. America went into therapy. We doubted our leaders. We doubted ourselves. The trauma permanent. He became a citizen of the world. A man who belonged to everyone because he no longer belonged to anyone. Camelot wasn't a place, it was a feeling. One brief moment when anything felt possible, before the lights went out. 6 decades later, the ghost of 12:30 p.m. is still inside the machine. Our computers can map the stars, but they still can't solve Dallas. The evidence rots in vaults, pieces of the truth hidden behind layers of national security. What are they still afraid of? The math doesn't lie, but the story does. A bullet that defies physics is a bullet that carries a secret. We are the generation of the unsolved. We don't believe in fairy tales. We want the man back from the myth. Information is a weapon. Kennedy's death was the first shot in a war for our minds, a war that never ended. The car sits in a museum, but the journey never finished. America still drives down that road in Dallas, waiting for the turn that never comes. If he had lived, would the world be better? Or was he always meant to be the sacrifice that defined an age? The Prince of Camelot, the ghost of Dallas, a man who became a monument because he dared to dream out loud. We look into his eyes and see ourselves, our hopes, our fears, our lost innocence. The story of JFK doesn't end. It waits for you to find the truth. You've been told the story. You've seen the tragedy. But what if I told you the most dangerous part of the Kennedy story, AI and deepfakes? The truth is more fragile than ever. If we can't solve a murder caught on film in 1963, What can we ever really know? The flame isn't just a memory, it's a warning. Some lights are too bright for the darkness to handle. We are still asking what we can do for our country. But in 2026, does the country even belong to us anymore? The weapon was simple, the plan perfect. The result, eternal silence. Forget the president, remember the man. A man full of flaws, but with a heart that beat for a better world. He reached for the moon, we reached for the stars, but we are still haunted by a street in Dallas. We were all in that limousine that day. America didn't just lose its president, it lost its faith. The faith that truth always wins. Even today, people stop there. They look at that X, as if some secret is buried, desperate to break free. His hands, the hands that wanted to change the world. Those hands were stopped, but his dreams no one could stop. He wanted to reach the moon, and he did. Every rocket that lifts from Earth today carries a piece of Kennedy. The world changed, technology changed, but the silence in Dallas remains the same. Unsolved, unfinished. Was Oswald alone? Was the mafia behind it, or someone else? Maybe we'll never know. Maybe we were never meant to know. He wanted to tell us something. The final speech that never happened in Dallas said it all. We must not be afraid. Camelot ended. The prince is gone. But the story has just begun. John F. Kennedy, a man, a mystery, a memory that will never fade. What do you think? What was the truth? Camelot is not a place. It's the dream we haven't woken up from yet. Goodbye, Mr. President. 2026 files are still being opened. But for every page we read, 10 more are redacted. What are they hiding? 60 years later, modern forensics tells a different story. The angles don't lie. The magic bullet wasn't magic, it was a cover-up for a crossfire. Intelligence isn't about what you see, it's about what you are allowed to see. Kennedy knew too much, and he wanted us to know it too. Why is the truth still a threat? Is it because those who planned Dallas, or their successors, are still in power? Every president after him knew. The shadow of Dallas hangs over the Oval Office like a ghost that never sleeps. John F. Kennedy didn't just leave a legacy. He left a challenge. Find the truth, no matter how dark it is. The prince has returned to Camelot. The gates are closed, but the echo of his voice, it still rings in the wind. His story is our story, a story of hope and pain and a mystery that will never die. This was the life of JFK.